Yes, we're back. It's still Poet the Poet, and I just want to mention our literary journal. It's called Medicinal Purposes Literary Review, and Rhina was one of our first big names to appear in its pages, and we're plotting a centerpiece feature on her, which we're very excited about, and perhaps one of the poems that will be performed on this very tape will find its way into the magazine. Anyway, so now you've done marriage, and you've done nature, and you've done your hometown. What other little goodies do you have?
Well, I have a couple here on poetry itself, on this crazy craft that we are all involved in. The first one is called prosody. The words are what I know, but they are no comfort. The comfort is in the music that says what I cannot know. The words are what I use to make a map of the one place there is, but it's the music takes me where I want to go. The words are addresses, but the things that live in them have always just moved and can be reached, if at all, through the music. The words are a name for the shadow I dress in. The radiance that wears me answers only to the music. Mm-hmm. And this other one is called Workshop, and this has something to do with the conflict between any kind of artistic life and the life of women, which is so tied to the sink and the bassinet and the, I don't have to tell you, you know what women's life is like. This is called Workshop. I met an old friend, a poet, who had not seen me for years and who thought I had died or something, and she said, "Where have you been?" "Where have you been," says my old friend the poet, "and what have you been doing?" The question weighs and measures me like an unpaid bill, hangs in the air waiting for some remittance. Well, I've been coring apples, layering them in raisins and brown sugar. I've been finding what's always lost, mending and brushing, pruning houseplants, remembering birthdays. The wisdom of others thunders past me like sonic booming. What I know of the world fits easily in the palm of one hand and lies quietly there like a child's cheek. Spoon-fed to me each evening, history puts on my children's faces because they are the one alphabet all of me reads. I've been setting the table for the dead, rehearsing the absence of the living, seasoning age with names for the unborn. I've been putting a life together, like supper, like a poem, with what I have.
I have to take exception to something about women being chained to the sink and the bassinet now.
Oh, not chained, tied with ropes of silk.
All right, whatever. All right, braided, that we'll compromise. A lot of the women I've been meeting lately are braided with ropes of silk, not so much to the sink, but to the cafe and the leather novelty shop and places like that.
Oh, I'm going to have to introduce you to some nice girl, Robert.
And why, so I can corrupt her? All right, speaking of corruption, you'd best uncorrupt us with another poem.
Oh, I can do that. This is called Undelivered Mail, and I think everybody in the world has undelivered mail of this kind. It's the mail that you fantasize about, but it never reaches you. Dear daughter, your father and I wish to commend you on the wisdom of your choices and the flawless conduct of your life. Dear poet, where is the full-length manuscript you promised us? Your check is waiting, the presses are ready, and bookstores are clamoring for delivery. Darling, this convention is tedious beyond belief. The hotel is swarming with disgustingly overexposed women, far too young to have dignity or any minds at all. Dear patient, the results of your blood tests reveal that your problem stems from a diet dangerously low in pizza and chocolate. Dear Mom, you were right about everything, and I was an idiot not to listen.
I didn't know you did science fiction. One of the middle stanzas of that poem, were those the nice girls you were going to introduce me to?
No, I had other ones in mind for you, Robert. Entirely different.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you then, before we get on to the next poem, something of your teaching philosophy.
Oh, I enjoyed teaching enormously, and I think I must have learned almost as much from the kids as they learned from me, maybe more, I don't know. They were so much fun. I taught some of the brightest, this is serious now, some of the brightest and nicest and most interesting people in the world. My teaching philosophy is to give them every bit of what I have to offer, to shape their language, to encourage them to shape it for themselves, to take risks with it, but never to go beyond the risks, to enjoy language.
All right, I have to disavow myself from that compliment that Rhina paid to all her students. Otherwise, people will think that she sweet talked her way onto the show, and it's simply not true. It's the quality of the poetry that got her here, and that brings us to the next poem, I believe.
Okay. Well, here's you mentioned science fiction before. Here's a little biblical science fiction. This is called "If You Ask Me." If you ask me, said the snake, this couple's doomed. They started naked, not a thing to need, a thing to wonder at, since orders boomed over the speaker. Every day they weed a little, see what's ripe, and pluck it off. Eat this, no, don't eat that. Now, I'm not blind. I see her fidget with her hair and cough that nervous cough. She's bored out of her mind. I see him gawk at birds and flap in vain. Then his blank eyes cloud over with the sky and circle his estate, so green, so plain. She's ripe to risk herself. They need to die. Unbanished, he's an ornament, a brute. We're neighbors. I'll go visiting with fruit.
Oh, there's nothing like a little ribbing of Genesis there.
Oh, no, I love to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. What else do you like to do in the poetry?
Well, I did something this January that I did not totally enjoy doing. I made it to Medicare. I hit 65.
Don't feel bad. That can be a triumph.
Oh, I know, it's a triumph. I feel divided about it. I love having more birthdays, but this one was rough. So I've been writing some what I call geriatric poetry, and poetry about the passage of time and what happens to the body and all of that. So are you ready for morbid? A little bit, mini morbid.
Well, normally I get that in the live shows, but
Go
ahead.
All right. Here's one called If There Had Been. If there had been more time, if you had stayed, if you had spoken sooner or said less, if you had turned away, if the parade had halted elsewhere, if the wrong address had not been scribbled or the train delayed, if you had practiced prudence or excess, or practiced nothing but the play of chance, if mind, if stubborn will, if circumstance, if changes were new turns the gods allow, if you had never been, or been before, or were to come, or then, not then, but now, if you had known that there would be no more after this once, if you had guessed somehow, if days were diamonds in a ring you wore.
A lot of iffy questions there. I'm looking at Lapsing to Grace, which is your collection from 1992. I'm holding it up, although this is not really an illustration. But what struck me, it says Poems and Drawings by you. And I only knew about your poetry side, and I want to see if I can find a drawing.
I'm a woman of multiple talents.
All right.
I eat nicely, too.
And cook nicely, too. I've never denied it. Here's something of interest. It might be hard to see, but I'm going to take a chance anyway. They might be roadrunners or insects or what else?
Birds, I hope.
Birds, okay. I hope that came out well. Let's see. Do you generally start with a poem and then do a drawing, or have you ever done it the other way?
No, I always start with a poem. I started out drawing when I was a child, and I thought for a time that I would be an artist, but gradually the writing took over. And by the time I was 8, I knew I was headed for language.
Let's take a whack at another one here. It's a bit of plant life. It's very delicate and understated, and in real life has a considerable impact and complements the poems very nicely. So
thank you.
I guess everybody's going to have to go out and get the book to really appreciate it.
From your lips to God's ears.
Well, we'll see, or from my spoon to God's nose, depending on how things are going these days. How about another poem?
Okay.
I'll get ready for that one. Okay.
Here's one called Poem in April. Still, sober heart that kept me whole in youth, be sober now and guarded, and beware those whispers in the wind that hush the truth. Blossoms in their green mail, flags in the air, crocuses in bright helmets through the snow, all say, believe, believe, but let them go. This war is not for winning, not for you. Better be still and guarded and not care more for this budding branch than for the bare. The hand that drew it bare composed this too, and signed its work, this cheek, this frosty head. Heart, you are not renewable. Be wise. Memory and desire, the poet said. Be sober, heart. The wind is full of lies.
What sort of reputation would you like to leave through your artistic endeavor? What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for poems that were truthful about what human life feels like. Poems that did not try for more than a person living my life could accomplish. Poems that were just the right size for me and for my life and for my ability.
And do you have another one in there that would
Yes, I
exemplify
do.
it?
Well, this one is called Weighing In, which is something I've been doing a lot of lately. Weighing in. What the scale tells you is how much the earth has missed you, body, how it wants you back again after you leave it to go forth into the light. Do you remember how earth hardly noticed you then? Others would rock you in their arms, warm in the flow that fed you, coaxed you upright. Then earth began to claim you with spots and fevers, began to lick at you with a bruised knee, a bloody shin, and finally to stroke you, body, drumming intimate coded messages through music you danced to unawares, there in your dreaming and your poems and your obedient blood. Body, how useful you became, how lucky, heavy with news and breakage, rich and sad sometimes, imagining that greedy zero you must have been, that promising empty sack of possibilities never to come tomorrow. But look at you now, body, soft old shoe that love wears when it's stirring. Look down, look how earth wants what you weigh, needs what you know.
And speaking of which, I'd like to ask one more question about the Powwow River poets. What would you say how long have they been going?
We've been in operation since about 1992.
And what would you say is the most significant achievement of the group?
Well, the group is absolutely wonderful. We have a monthly workshop where we all help each other to trim poems and do them better. We have a contest every year that has been attracting wonderful attention. This year we had 471 entries from 25 states and the Virgin Islands. And we have a reading series that is incredible. We have people the likes of Joe DeRoche, Joe Kennedy, all sorts of wonderful readers come, and they come for nothing and read to this audience. So I think we're really having a good time, and we're playing.
Well, that's a marvelous list of accomplishments, the books, the groups, the poems. I want to thank you, Rhina Espaillat, for coming on Poet to Poet. And so until next time, this is Robert Dunn, thinking of something or other, and still working the old microphones here.